Hi, my name is Eric Carson, Quaternary Geologist at the WGNHS. Today I will be providing an update on STATEMAP funded 1 to 100,000 scale mapping in Wisconsin. I will be proposing new mapping for the fiscal year 2022, and I will also be providing highlights of several research projects that I am conducting in concert with my mapping program. As you're almost certainly aware, 1 to 100,000 scale quaternary mapping at the Geological Survey is being conducted in 2 regions. Elmo Rawling is leading mapping in the Lake Superior area with funding from the Great Lakes Geologic Mapping Coalition and the U.S. Forest Service, and I will be talking about STATEMAP funded work in the Driftless area of southwest Wisconsin, most recently with work in Monroe and Lafayette counties. Before I do that though, I would like to introduce 4 different research projects that I am currently running that dovetail with the mapping program that I have. While mapping along the Mississippi River corridor in Crawford and Vernon counties, I have been investigating the record of aggradation on the Mississippi River in response to the last glaciation. The highest alluvial terrace along this reach of the river is known as the Savannah Terrace, shown in red on the map on the left. We have collected 2 rotosonic cores from the surface of the Savannah Terrace, extending over almost 50 meters to the bedrock surface. Plant macrofossils providing radiocarbon age control are giving new insight into the timing of the advance of the Laurentide ice sheet into the Mississippi River basin. Closer to home, I have been investigating the history of Glacial Lake Yahara. Glacial Lake Yahara was a proglacial lake that formed as ice retreated away from the Madison area, and it persisted for several thousand years at a higher level than the modern 4 lakes. We have collected cores from 9 locations surrounding the modern lakes, shown by the red dots on the map. All of these locations were places that were inundated by Glacial Lake Yahara, but exposed subaerially as the lake level dropped. Radiocarbon age control is providing the first direct evidence for the timing of when the lake formed and when it drained. Wisconsin is among a minority of Midwest states in that we do not have a statewide quaternary map. The closest that exists is the 1974 Hadley and Pelham map of glacial deposits of Wisconsin, seen on the left. Starting in June 2020, the WGNHS received supplemental STATEMAP funds to generate a 1 to 500,000 quaternary map of Wisconsin. I have been serving as the PI for this project and collaborating with Elmo Rawling, John Addig, Dave Michelson, Bill Mode, Mark Johnson, and Kent Severson to compile this new statewide map. We are accessing existing 1 to 100,000 and 1 to 250,000 scale mapping and generalizing it as appropriate, and generating new 1 to 500,000 scale mapping in areas that have been unmapped. During the past 2 years, I've received funding from the Groundwater Coordinating Council and the Wisconsin DNR to investigate the Rountree Formation in Grant, Iowa, and Lafayette counties in southwest Wisconsin. The Rountree Formation is a red residual clay derived from the chemical weathering of carbonate bedrock where it forms the cap rock throughout the region. The formation itself is rarely exposed at the surface, as can be seen in the backhoe trench image at the left, as it is covered by a blanket of loess derived from the last glaciation. The overarching goal of this project is to assess the geographic distribution and thickness of the Rountree Formation across the area, and also assess what, if any, buffering capacity the Rountree Formation provides for the underlying bedrock groundwater system from surface contamination. I have leveraged funds from this grant along with STATEMAP funds to enact an enhanced geoprobe core collection program in the area. With the exception of the cluster of cores in extreme western Grant County, all of the red dots on this map represent geoprobe cores collected during the last 2 years. This has been the basis for new mapping at the 100,000 scale covering Grant County and northern Iowa County, which will be seamlessly paired with STATEMAP funded mapping in southern Iowa County and Lafayette County. This provides a natural segue into an update on STATEMAP funded mapping that I've been conducting recently. Along with my geotech Casey Stolzman, we have just completed remapping southern Iowa County, which has been paired with the northern Iowa County that was funded by the Groundwater Coordinating Council to provide a complete new map for Iowa County. The line work for this map has been completed and is currently in the cartography stage with our GIS staff in preparation for peer review and publication. In this image of the line work from the county, the southern portion is dominated by colors that represent loess on upland surfaces. You may recall from last year's presentation that I have put considerable effort into core collection and understanding surface morphology to be able to interpret the material that underlies the loess that blankets these upland surfaces. And we have continued the lessons learned from Crawford, Richland, and Vernon County down into this new mapping that is being conducted in Iowa and Grant County. The core photos here show the base of several different cores. On the left, a core that penetrates into the Reedstown member of the St. Peter Formation. In the center is a core that penetrates into the Rountree Formation, the residual clay. And on the right is a core that penetrates into undifferentiated bedrock. In this case, the core penetrated into the Tonti member of the St. Peter sandstone. I am also conducting 1 to 100,000 scale mapping in northeastern Monroe County. Whereas much of my recent mapping has dealt with issues associated with wind-blown silt on upland surfaces, mapping in northeastern Monroe County during fiscal year 2020 and northwestern Monroe County in the current fiscal year deals primarily with sand-dominated systems. The rivers in this area have incised into the middle and lower Cambrian sandstones, providing abundant coarse material at the surface. The predominance of sand in this area expresses itself in several different ways. Many of the cores that we have collected are entirely composed of sand, and as you can see from the examples on the right, the stratification and bioturbation evident in them indicates that they are likely simply weathered Cambrian sandstone still in situ. In this case, the core is from the weathered Mount Simon sandstone. There is also abundant and mobile sand at the surface, as seen in the map image on the left from near Sparta, Wisconsin. Wind-blown sand driven by primarily westerly winds can be seen climbing in dune forms up the west faces of the bedrock hills in this area. I will now take a few moments to introduce the mapping projects that I will propose for the fiscal year 2022 STATEMAP program. For the fiscal year 2022 cycle, I would like to propose 3 projects. I would like to propose completing the mapping of Lafayette County that is completely underway. I would propose mapping the entirety of La Crosse County, and I would propose mapping the entirety of Sauk County as well as adjacent southwest Juneau counties. While this is an aggressive amount of mapping to propose, the volume of mapping is mitigated by 3 factors. First and foremost, all of these areas are immediately adjacent to places that I have mapped recently, and my understanding of the geomorphology from the mapped counties extends into and across these proposed areas. Second, I have already organized collaborators for each of these map projects. Peter Jacobs from UW-Whitewater has been assisting with Lafayette County and will assist with this proposed project. Joan Bunbury and Colin Belby from UW-La Crosse will be assisting with La Crosse County. And John Addig, emeritus from the WGNHS, will be assisting with the glaciated and Baraboo Hills portions of the Sauk County. Finally, the western portions of Sauk and Juneau counties have been mapped as bedrock maps by John Addig and Lee Clayton. Many of the map units that I use today for my surficial mapping are highly dependent upon the underlying bedrock geology. And so having the bedrock geology mapping already in place for Sauk and southwest Juneau County will ease the process of mapping the Quaternary deposits significantly. The value of this aggressive approach is revealed when looking at the status of quaternary mapping in slightly more detail. In this image, we see the areas that I've outlined for fiscal year 2022 in green, areas where mapping is currently underway in gold, and areas where mapping has been completed and 1 to 100,000 scale plates are in production for publication right now. By completing the areas shown here, I will have mapped the entirety of the Driftless area south of La Crosse and Black Rivers. This provides a natural stopping point where I could write a summary bulletin describing the mapping of this entire region before reassessing where to go next with STATEMAP funding. I'll close out by once again highlighting the 5 counties that have been recently completed as 1 to 100,000 scale mapping and are currently entering production, as well as a recent peer review publication derived from field-based research largely in Sauk County. Thank you for your time. Look forward to talking to you during the live portion of the meeting.